Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. In today's Friday Ramblings, I'm going to talk about collecting seeds. We're going to walk through the garden and I'll show you different ways to save seeds. We'll look at some of the container plants, but I also want to talk about getting burned out. I am tired out from the summer of growing, and I'll show you some ways to take on the tasks of like taking down all the summer crops and putting in the winter crops or preparing the beds for next year. We're going to have a 63-degree day, 40-degree night tonight, and it's really time to pull that out. And I just don't feel like doing it, but I'll have to. Kohlrabi, one of the best tasting vegetables out there, growing in a flower box. It's possible, you can do it. Some other ways to grow in shallow containers: radishes. These are French breakfast. You can actually grow them like that. You have to give them more nitrogen. Typically I don't give my radishes nitrogen or fertilizer, but in something this shallow they're going to need more liquid fertilizer. But these will grow nice big French breakfast radishes. This is some of the lettuce I got in early, maybe the beginning of August, and you can see when it went through the heat phase it started to bolt. So I will cut this back, new leaves will come up now that the temperatures have come down, and I'll get fresher leaves. What happens when it starts to bolt, this will all get bitter. I don't mind the taste, but you may not want that. You can grow radishes, I've showed before, in flower boxes. So we're going into the garden. I started yesterday. Big wagon full of debris that's going out, and I'm actually going to be throwing that on the edges of my wooded area to let it grow wild hopefully next year. Some eggplants that I found. So we're going into what now is sort of the jungle. I cleaned out this area yesterday, and just a quick tip, I mean, this is what I recommend. If you come into your garden and this was all overgrown, well, with peppers and stuff, and you start working this way, you're going to keep seeing all the tasks you have to do, and it can, you know, make you freeze. Like, I'm going to go back inside and do something. I'll come out later. So rather than start looking at everything you have to do, start in a corner with your back to everything and just kind of work your way out. And as you work your way out, you're going to be able to look at everything you accomplished. So I've got cool weather crops I moved that were scattered over here. Cleaned out this area. I'll probably put down compost. Maybe I'll plant some spinach. Tons of peppers that I can harvest over the next week. You know, and I started cleaning out this area right in here. And I'll just keep, you know, working my way in. So when I get to here, oh, I have transplants to put into these grow towers. When I get into here, and look, I've left the corn there, that's been there for like 3 or 4 weeks, I will just turn my back this way and work in. And it's just an easy way to kind of keep yourself focused on what you're accomplished, what you need to accomplish, rather than what you have to take care of all the way down there. So another thing you can do is save seeds. That'll save you money. You can trade seeds. We're also going to go over to my other garden, and I've completely cleaned that out. Sort of started that principle I was talking about over there. So for peppers, it's pretty easy. Let them get to their mature color. A lot of times it's red in a lot of cases, but you let them fully mature, maybe start to brown a little bit, and you're going to have mature seeds inside. You just break it open. When you open them, you want to make sure that they're white, they look healthy. This one probably could go a little bit longer, and then you just put them on a plate and let them dry for about a week, and then store them in a place, and you'll have plenty of pepper seeds. Tomatoes, you can get the rotted ones. Tomatoes have gel coats around them, and they actually have to ferment, kind of rot away. That gel coat prevents them from actually sprouting inside the tomatoes, because it's like a perfect condition, nice and warm, moisture. So you put this into a jar, mason jar, seal it, let it ferment about a week. It's going to smell bad. Dump them out, rinse the seeds through a sieve, and then you let the seeds dry out for about a week, and you'll have plenty of tomato seeds to use. You don't even have to buy anymore. I mean, that was probably like 15 or 20 black cherry tomatoes. And the corn still in a pile, but look at all the green beans growing through it. So I'm just kind of leaving that there. I'm going to get, well, there are plenty of green beans right in there. So when this is all said and done, I got to build that structure I talked about to protect it from squirrels and birds. So, and this is how I can get distracted. Like I could be, okay, let me construct this now. I'll start working on that. Well, that doesn't have to be done until next year. So prioritize. When you've got a lot to clear out, don't get distracted doing tasks that can be put off till, you know, really next spring. So that's what I'll do with the corn. Another way to collect seeds is to leave your cucumbers on the plant. There are a couple on here that I'm leaving, and they may not quite get to a yellow-orange color, but when you're growing cucumbers and they start turning yellow and orange, that means they're over mature. And that's what you want to do, is let's see if that'll come in. Let the cucumbers begin to yellow, orange, and you just core out the seeds, rinse them off, let them dry, and you have plenty of cucumber seeds too. So this is the area that really needs a lot of work. The tomatoes are still growing and there's still tomatoes on there. But they're not going to last. A frost will be coming soon, so you might as well clear them out now. Take what you can. Also had a ton of sort of waste from the cherry tomatoes. Couldn't get people out here regularly because of, you know, the pandemic. Lots of warm weather and rain split the fruit. So this is also a good time to start thinking about planning your garden for next year. So I got a couple varieties in here I'm going to keep. I'll talk about those in future videos. But I'll redesign it. Instead of having 8 cherry tomatoes trellising up here, we're probably going to go with 2, maybe 3. The other thing is I've started working on my container area too. That's cleaned up. I had containers there. I had containers over there growing tomatoes. I have some flowers and stuff over there that'll probably stay because that's for good insects. All through this raised bed area, I had herbs. They were moved. I'll show you where I moved those to. And then I have containers all the way back at that gate where I'm growing in those metal galvanized tubs. I'm going to put them all in one location. It was a pain to go and water all these containers because they needed to be watered a lot more than my garden, and I had to keep moving around to different places. So one of the strategies I'm going to use next year is consolidate the work of different parts of the garden into similar places. Basically move all the containers over to there. This way I just bring the hose over, can water everything. I could set up a drip system. It's a lot easier to set up a drip system for containers in a space than for me to spread it out all over the garden. So you can see some of the beds are, you know, cleared out to a certain degree. That are those right there, white turnips, or white beets actually. I'm, you know, really moved a lot of stuff over to the cool weather crops, but I'm going to do more of it. You can take your squash, let it overgrow, pick it, let it sit for a while. So the seeds will actually kind of still mature off of what's inside of the fruit. You want just nice, viable, large seeds, and I'll have plenty of the scallop squash, crookneck squash. Same thing over here, and this was a really big success. I planted this, I can't remember if it was the 3rd wave or 4th wave, but this was from seed, maybe the end of July, and I still have tons of squash forming. And when it got cooler, they seem happier to put out more fruit, because sometimes when the temperatures get really high in the 90s, upper 90s, your plants don't want to produce because it doesn't make sense. So they kind of shut down and you get mostly male flowers. So I have all kinds of different squash still coming in. Same thing, let them mature. That's round zucchini back there. I've picked those, they got oversized, letting them kind of yellow out, mature. Just split them open, I'll have plenty of seeds. The radishes that I've been doing in waves, which I talked about, grew a little funky, but they're still good because of the heat. So these are a little bit more spicy because they were growing in the hot weather. And then I have, you know, a wave after that, and then I have other waves that I just planted 2 weeks ago. The radishes will get sweeter and crunchier with the cool weather, and maybe a little less woody maybe, and spicy. But these were absolutely delicious. Plenty of green beans. I'm going to be moving green beans to just one section rather than having them all over, and really kind of planning my garden out next year to be a place for my mind, so I walk through and I enjoy it, but also a lot more functional. I'm going to try and eat out of it daily and really cut back dependence on the grocery store minus the proteins. We'll see how it goes. I mean, look at this tomato plant. It's just a monster. Lots of green tomatoes still coming. So some of them I'll leave and I'll have, you know, fried green tomatoes, or I'll pickle some green tomatoes. More beans in there. Another wave of radishes. So every 2 weeks, keep putting in your radishes. Especially, you know, going into the fall. I have a nice long time before a hard frost comes. Beans, these are yard long red beans. Just leave them on, let the shell dry out, and then you have, ooh, we lost that one, there it is. You'll have plenty of beans to grow next year. You can even cook these. Let's go down to one more place. And those are the containers I'm talking about too, real quick. They're all going to get moved to the other gate. I'll figure out something, you know, over the next couple of months, get those moved. The peppers are still coming in. This was successful. I just want to show you the other place that I've been growing beans. These are for stored dried beans. This was the first wave. Just leave them on there. And you're going to have plenty of beans that are dried. You can use them for soups. Use them in cooking, you know, or save them, trade them, and replant them. If I throw these down, they'll probably come back. All the asparagus, these are asparagus seeds from the female plants. You can just pick those when they turn that nice orange, begin to brown, let them dry out. You'll have plenty of asparagus seeds. And there's male and female plants in there. This is a spear that just started growing about 3 weeks ago. It hasn't even ferned out. Next year, I mean, look at all the asparagus. Next year I'm going to have a ton of asparagus. That will be the 3rd year. It takes about 3 years from crowns for your asparagus to really establish, and it'll just be tons of delicious asparagus starting probably in later March, early April. But you can see I have a lot to clear out, and if I walked this way I might get overwhelmed. So you just start with a corner and you work it in that corner. Give yourself credit for what you're clearing out. Stop getting ahead of yourself thinking about all the other work that you have to do. We all definitely get burned out. Let me show you the other garden real quick that I've finished up, where I've been really moving strawberry plants around. Well, as we walk over there, there's another section I want to show you. So this was my no-dig bed. It was overgrown. If you saw that video with tomatoes, I've harvested pumpkins out of there. That is an artichoke plant. That is asparagus over there. And then all these plants that are coming up are tomatoes, because so many tomatoes rotted. When you let them sprawl all over, it's really hard to get to them. The deer have started moving in, and I set this up. This is not going to keep them out, but it'll deter them. I like it because you can't really see it from my area. I didn't want to fence out here. I want to kind of keep this space open and green. So this will be an ongoing experiment. Hungry deer will jump through this. You know, skittish deer will bounce into here and maybe kind of walk away. But my strategy is to have other food around here for them. Maybe they leave this alone. Either way, I mean, it's producing even with the deer damage. There is a wave of radishes I just put in about 7 days ago. This is a nice little cold frame that will be all cleared out. It'll be repopulated with my compost. Was able to grow some. I'll be doing videos on that. But this year was really just letting my piles break down. It wasn't that exciting, but I'll do more on that. Fill that up with compost, and I'll be able to actually grow greens in there all winter long. I've already done that. And then it's just a polycarbonate top that I made. If you can see it in there, will go on top, keep the hard freeze away, and I'll be able to harvest spinach, you know, really till the spring, till I change it over. This area was somewhat of a fail with my onions not taking off. Next year they will do fine. Leeks are coming in, great. More radishes. This soil's all prepped, and I think I had some sort of insect in there eating the roots of the onions. We'll figure it out next year. Sweet potato ready to be pulled out. This was my once dig garden, very successful. That will be cleared out, still producing. And let's go over to here. This is where I have my kitchen garden. I've got herbs along here and stuff like that. And this was really overgrown. So I decided to spend the last week or so getting this area in shape. And I added in the raised bed over there. I will link a video that shows you how to fill that for practically nothing. And I have, really, this is going to be much more functional. It's going to be all about herbs, fruits. There's strawberries, raspberries in here, and basic things for greens and salads. You know, 1 or 2 tomato plants, nothing crazy. I'll be getting that out of the rest of the garden. And I'll be able to just come out here when I'm cooking and get what I need. Goji berries for vitamins. Let's get in there a little bit closer. So I transplanted a lot of the strawberries that propagated over to there, giving away 3 wheelbarrowfuls to friends. That's the 3rd one that I'm finishing out right over there. But I use strawberries as ground cover, and I harvest strawberries and they make a wonderful ground cover. So for the design in here, and the wind is really picking up, I apologize. So the design over here or in this area wasn't really functional. I was just scattering stuff around. So now I have containers. A nice table can go right here. Green beans, lettuces, cold weather crops. The peas from the videos are doing really well. I'll be doing more videos on that if you want to subscribe. But, you know, cool weather crops, leafy greens. Tomatoes will be in that corner. More leafy greens. And you can see that I was able to take everything back pathwise, put down some mulch. That whole walking space right in there covered in strawberries. Cut all the strawberries back. I'll be getting into the raspberries. Let me show you how they propagate too, in case you're wondering. So strawberries just send out runners. They'll touch the ground and then they'll root out, and you can, you know, dig them up. Great time to move strawberries is in the fall when you got a good 3 months or so before the ground really freezes. They'll establish, they'll come back next year. Your raspberry plants will send out, that's a tip of a cane right in there. I've dug this out. There's thorns on here, so I'm being careful. I dug this out from here. So a cane grows up really tall, bends over, touches the ground, roots out. I'll cut it right here. I have a raspberry cane to put somewhere, or a blackberry cane, depending on, you know, if they're kind of creeping. They can be very invasive, so these are going to get moved and they're going to go out to a wooded area where they can do what they want. But, you know, a couple of raspberry plants, let them grow over a year or 2, and then you can get in, divide them up, and you'll save yourself a lot of money. Here's an example coming around here that these are blackberries actually. They'll send out roots along here and then they'll root up in different places. And again, this will get a, I always want to say evasive, but invasive. So I'll dig them up and I'll move them. Blackberries, that's lovage. This will have a structure in here to support it, but I'll get fruit. Lovage is a great celery-like herb you can use in place of celery. Use it in stews, use it in soups. Let's just finish out by going up onto there. So all those herbs I was talking about that I had in the main garden in containers all over the place, I basically brought them over to here so that I can walk out my door, and this makes total sense and it's obvious, and why I didn't do it before, I don't know. But then I can just walk over to here. I have chives, thyme, oregano, lavender's great with chicken, different mints. If you're growing mints, grow them in pots like that because they can be very invasive too. And this kind of helps contain them. They're easy to control, but if you let them sprawl all over, it's a bit of work picking them out. More herbs, same types of things. Sage back there, rosemary in the middle. But I can basically come here, get what I need for the kitchen, continue to walk down here, pick up any fruits that I need, maybe for salads. Step down here depending on the time of the season, and really collect my cool weather crops. Hope you enjoyed the video. Appreciate me kind of rambling and going on. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com, and remember, enjoy your gardens, take your time. Getting burned out is okay, and now's a great time to kind of replan and, you know, change your garden up for next year. Thanks for watching.